Attack on Titan is a really special story to me. I've been watching along since around when episode 5 aired in 2013, and then I got caught up to the manga about 2 years ago when it ended, and ever since then I've been fighting for this ending in comment sections and whatnot. I'm really glad that the ending was received better by anime fans than the manga fans, and I'm a really big fan of all the small changes that they did make. But even 2 years after the manga ended, I still see people having, let's say, misconceptions about how things in the ending work or what I think some things in the ending mean. I think it's understandable. I think the ending is maybe slightly messy. There's a lot going on. It's kind of a lot to take in, just like the whole series. So I understand why people have some of these misconceptions. This video is going to contain my scattered thoughts about the Attack on Titan ending and some other things that connect to that. A lot of my friends are anime only, so I've been waiting a long time to talk about this. Okay, first and foremost, this is, I think, what I see the most confusion about, and that is when exactly Eren knew what. I see a lot of people thinking that Eren saw the entire future when he kissed Historia's hand at the end of Season 3. I've seen reaction videos and explanation videos where people get a little bit mixed up about this. I've seen people say things like Eren knew Sasha was going to die, knew Hanji was going to die, and this is just not the case. Like, it just doesn't work out that way. When Eren kissed Historia's hand at the end of Season 3, all he saw were small glimpses of the future. We don't know exactly what he saw, we're never really told, but the way that it's presented implies to me, and you can let me know if you think I'm right on this, that what he saw were the glimpses of the future that he showed his father when he was pushing him to kill the Reese family. With his father's memories of the future, he knows enough to get to the rumbling. He knows certain decisions he has to make, and he knows some outcomes which help him get there. And then when he gets to the rumbling, when he gets the Founding Titan powers and he does the massive transformation, is when he becomes this like all-knowing being that all of time happens at the same time for. Along the way, he didn't know which of his friends would live or die. All he knew was the result and some steps along the way. And he says that himself.
人類を虐殺してパラディ島で殺し合いをさせてみんなを俺の大切な仲間を生き残れるかどうかもわからないまま戦いに巻き込んだ。
As further evidence, if that's maybe not enough for you, here are some scenes of Eren acting in a way that would imply to me that he certainly does not know the entire future.
俺はジーク・イエーガーの計画は到底受け入れられません。地ならしの維持に我々の命運を委ねるのは危険です。残された時間の限りあらゆる選択を模索するのが我々の取るべき最善策ではないでしょうか。エレン、お前が調査兵団を巻き込んだからサシャは死んだんだぞ。この光景、未来の記憶で見たことがある。おそらく俺はこの少年を助ける。
Now, why would he say that if he knew the future? Okay, next aspect of the ending I want to talk about here is Eren and Armin's conversation in the paths. One of the more confusing aspects, and I want to talk about a few different lines of dialogue, some that were in the manga and some that weren't. First, Eren's line about wanting Mikasa to pine after him for at least 10 years.
ミカサに男ができるなんて一生俺だけを思っててほしい。俺が死んだ後もしばらく10年以上は引きずっててほしい。そこまでかっこ悪いことを言うとは。今のはミカサには言わないでくれ。
This line was met with a lot of rage when the final chapter first came out. It was decried as some horrible character assassination of Eren, and this is just never made like any sense to me at all. I think this is essentially who Eren was the entire time.
ちょっとどうしたの？傷を作ったの？まだ早いよ。
いや、どうしようもねえクソガキをぶん殴っただけ。
And when he doesn't have to put on this act for his friends, and when Armin pushes him a little bit, making some comments about Mikasa, I think it makes perfect sense that he would respond this way. This is like a 19-year-old kid who knows he's about to die and is going to miss his friends, especially Mikasa. I think that this is totally within his character. Like, what more do you want from him? I've always kind of seen this as a bit of a flash of the old Eren that his friends and us watching the show miss. And I really like the line. I like it a lot. Next line, Eren tells Armin that he tried to change it.
いいから、まだ起きてない虐殺を止めるんだ。
できない。お前たちが救える人類は2割までだ。もう決まっている。
決まっている。自分で決めて、自分で殺したんだろ。
もう何度も試みては失望したが、未来の記憶は寸分たがわぬまま起こることは変わらなかった。
This line is obviously open to your interpretation to some degree, but I see a lot of people kind of pissed that it implies that Eren loses some agency. First of all, like, yeah, that's kind of what happens when you see the future in every story. It's just how it works. Dune, wait till we get to Dune Messiah, guys. I swear it's the same shit. There's a lot of parallels between Paul Muad'Dib Atreides and Eren Yeager. I'm not getting into that right now. I could be wrong about this, but the way that I see a lot of people read it, they seem to think that Eren was like literally unable to make different choices or choose different paths, that if he tried to, he was forced into the other. And this is just not really how I read the line. I read it more like every time push came to shove and Eren had a choice, the better choice with the information that Eren had was the one that matched his memories of the future. Every time that he could have changed something, it, at least to him, seemed like it would turn out worse for his friends than things would in his memories of the future.
そうすると決まってる。きっとこの先もパラディ島が生き延びる道が見つからなかったんだろう。
This implies to me that if he was given a better option by somebody, that he would have at least tried it, but none of the options he was given looked as safe for his friends as flattening the planet.
そんな結末納得できない。
The scene of him saving Ramsay implies to me at least that the reason why he can't change the future is not because he's locked in, but it's because of who he is.
俺は何を考えている。いずれこの少年も殺すくせに何を思いやがって。暴力の限りを尽くす俺が正義を気取っていいわけないだろう。未来は変わらないらしい。
ありがとう。
俺も同じだったよ、ライナー。半端なクソ野郎だ。
He saves Ramsay because, yes, part of him is this horrible person that flattens the planet, but part of him is also this person who feels bad for this kid and wants to help him. And I think part of the really interesting part of Eren is that conflict in his character. This is an anime-only line. He says, "I'm a slave to freedom."
アルミ、お前が言った通り、俺は自由の奴隷だ。
I think this is a great change. Eren Chad enjoyers probably fucking hate this line, but you know, this is what the story is saying, and they added it to the anime just so you guys would get it. Next, it's Eren's line. He said,
俺は平らにしたかったんだ。この景色が見たかった。
the conversation I see around this is largely about Eren's motivation. Some say that he did it for his friends. Some say he did it because he wanted to. I say he did it because of both reasons. I don't see why characters can't have multiple motivations for what they do, especially when these two motivations can work together to make it a bit easier for Eren to justify this to himself. A part of Eren wanted to keep his friends safe, and a part of him wanted to do the rumbling. these two things, you know, kind of work together in his eyes. This was the best path forward for both of those desires that he had. Next, the I'm an idiot line.
どうしてこうなったのかやっとわかった。バカだからだ。どこにでもいるありふれたバカが力を持っちまった。だからこんな結末を迎えることしかできなかった。
This line wasn't in the original manga ending. I really like the addition. I'm sure some people don't. Obviously, when Eren says this, he's getting at the reality of the situation, that he is a person like filled with rage and hatred, and that if it were someone else in his place, that maybe it could have gone a different way.
でもそんなガキの頃の夢を俺はとっくに忘れてて、母さんの敵とか巨人を殺すこととか何かを憎むことしか頭になくて、でもこいつは違うんです。アルミンは戦うだけじゃない、夢を見ている。
But another aspect of this line that I think people gloss over a little bit is the self-hatred aspect of his character. I don't hear people talk about Eren in this way very much, but I think it's definitely there throughout the story.
傷を作ったの？まだ早いよ。
いや、どうしようもねえクソガキをぶん殴っただけなんだけど、死んでたらいいな。俺が死んだ後もずっとあいつらの人生は続く。続いてほしい。
It's obviously not as simple as, oh, I'm an idiot. He's being overly harsh on himself. He's being self-deprecating, like he always has been, because these crazy expectations put on him from the time he was born, from when the time he was in the Scouts until now, have caused him to have some issues, you know, with liking himself and his self-image. Hey Siri, what time does the sun set?
Sunset will be at 4:29 p.m.
Okay,
today.
I got like 30 minutes. I'm gonna go till I can't anymore.
あなただったのね。ずっと私の頭の中を覗いていたのは。
So I'm editing this video and I feel like I left this section out, kind of. This was something that a lot of people were confused about when the ending first came out, and I kind of assume some people are still confused about now, and that is this Mikasa and Ymir connection. So the mechanics of it and why the Titan Curse ended up being lifted in the end is because Ymir needed to see Mikasa kill Eren and let him go so that she could have the strength to do the same thing with King Fritz and the Titans. That's why the Titan Curse was lifted at the end of the story.
あなたの愛は長い悪夢だったと思う。おやすみなさい、ユミル。
The headaches that Mikasa is getting throughout the entire series are not some Ackerman power. Eren lied and made that up to push her away. It's Ymir looking into her memory so that she can better understand her at that moment at the end when she sees her kill Eren. Mikasa parallels Ymir, Eren parallels the king. Yeah, that's how it works mechanically. You know, there's tons of discussion on if this is a good plot point. Some people think the Stockholm Syndrome thing is, it doesn't really work for them. I think it works okay. It's not my favorite element of the story, but I think it works. I don't really want to get into like super detailed analysis of each little element of the plot in this video. This is kind of more of an overarching thing. But yeah, short section. I just wanted to clarify that. Back to the rest of the video now. We can assume that most of the cast dies of old age. They were around 23 before the credits rolled because there was a 3-year time skip right before the credits. So we can assume that already 60 years have passed before the deaths of any of the main characters. I've seen some people say that by the end of the credits, another 80 to 100 years have passed because of the rate that technology is progressing. I don't agree with this at all. I think it's missing some important in-universe context. Yes, 80 to 100 years is a long time, but I would argue that it's actually a lot longer. With 80% of the planet getting trampled, along with 80% of the planet's resources, I think that it's reasonable to assume that technology would progress a lot slower than it did in our world. And for that reason, I think it's been at least 200 years that spans during the end credits after the deaths of our main characters. So we have, like, let's be conservative, let's say it's 260 years from the start of the end credits to when everything goes up in flames. Then we cut later to the boy going through, so it's probably been another 20 years, I think. Everything's overgrown, that takes a little while. So minimum, by the time this boy comes back, it's 280 years, 83 maybe, since Aaron's death. This is really all to say that I think the whole idea of everything went up in flames in the end, so it was all for nothing, I think that argument is brain dead at best, to be honest with you. After Aaron's death, Armin and the rest of the characters were able to create a piece that outlived them and lasted around 250 to 260 years. If you think that's nothing, I don't really know what to tell you. I think it sounds like a lot. Next, let's talk about the tree and the cycle of Titans. The ending is obviously purposefully a little unclear about this and what it means, and you're free to take from it whatever you want, but I just want to talk about my reading of it. Okay, so Ymir falls into the tree, right? The hallucigenia parasite thing is in there. It melds with her, and then Ymir, not the hallucigenia, Ymir creates Titans, okay? So the tree, yes, implies the hallucigenia is back, although, it's open to interpretation. It might not be. It's up to you. I just want to say that I don't think it means that Titans will come back because, like I said, Titans existed because of Ymir, not the hallucigenia or the tree or anything. So this boy, who is in very different circumstances to Ymir, may use these fabulous powers, if he does get them, to create something completely new or different. Perhaps the somewhat happier looking conditions, I know everything's in ruin, but still, will cause something a little nicer, I don't know. The manga first ended right here. And that was already controversial. And then when the volumes were put together and you could buy the final volume of Attack on Titan, they added these extra 8 pages after the ending. These extra pages were maybe even more controversial and divisive than the original ending. I saw people who liked the original ending and people who disliked the original ending talking about how this ruined everything and how it made it all for nothing, blah, blah, blah. I personally think the expectation of world peace forever is kind of unrealistic, and I think that within the world of this show, it's probably even more unrealistic. And then eventually, yes, war returned, and Isayama's Ragnarok imagery returned. He loves that stuff. But I don't think that takes away from any of the meaning. I think it just adds to it. I think 300-ish years of peace is far from nothing. I think Armin and the Scouts created a peace that far outlived them, and I think that's a pretty happy ending. In the end, I think that the ending, both versions, exemplify perfectly what I believe to be the main theme of the show, and that is that the world is cruel but beautiful. What's up? I'm in a new spot today. Finished the main stuff that I wanted to talk about yesterday, but I still have some kind of miscellaneous stuff that I want to talk about, so I'm going to do that now. I feel like this is a good time to get all of my takes related to this topic out, so this may be a little bit less structured than earlier. I'm just gonna say Okay, first, I can't stand these like fan theories that are actually just about nothing. These are just good examples. There's tons of other examples. These are just the ones that I can think of that I saw on TikTok. I saw a video of somebody saying that the dog-looking Titan and the boy running next to it in the big fight on Aaron's back are this boy and their dog. Because I don't really know. It doesn't make sense. Like I said earlier, Ymir created Titans, not the hallucigenia. This kid and his dog are not connected in any way to this whole thing. The theory is just pointless completely. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't hold up to like even a minute of consideration. I saw another theory of somebody saying that the kid in the end credits is the baby from the rumbling scene.
I'm gonna prove that this baby is connected to this child. First, we have to make a few things clear. Number one, this baby survived the rumble. Zeke was unalive before any of these people could be stepped on.
Doesn't make any sense at all to me. They were like, oh, but look, he's wearing the red scarf that his mom had, that he was wrapped in. His scarf's not even red, first of all, in the anime. Everyone just assumed it was red in the manga. The problem that I have with all of these theories is that they add absolutely nothing to the material. The characters don't get better. The themes don't get better. The imagery doesn't get better. It's like Marvel and Star Wars disease, I swear. You're doing like word association with the elements of the story, essentially. Lastly, I just want to say a little piece about the anime-only ending audience. The people who, ever since the manga ended, anytime there was ever any detail in the anime that was like slightly different than the manga, they were like, this is proof of AoE. This is proof of AoE. And, you know, you can check me in the comments of a lot of these videos. I'm in there saying it's Cope. Who was right? If you've watched the video up until now, thank you. Please like and subscribe or whatever, or comment. Dislike if you dislike the video. Been pretty bored recently. Making this video has been pretty fun. If you agreed with me on all this, sorry for the clickbait. Thinking about other videos I can make after this, but I've got some other loose ideas on the mind right now. Maybe JJK video. I really like JJK, but I think I'll probably say some negative things that some people won't like. Reading Children of the Sea right now. Really enjoying that. I'll see, you know. I'll make something. Not sure.